is. Lucky 33 general question. What is minimum optimal upload and download speed needed for validator? Yeah, I've heard this question before. I'm trying to think of what, when Gamma and David Feeder and I were on the panel the other day, what was it? I think were they saying that 50 megabit is basically what the minimum they recommend, something like that? I think that sounds about right. Gamma mentioned a point too, that if your validators, the number of validators go up. So if you're running 100, that may be a lot more bandwidth than 10, for example, or 1,000 would be, even more. So again, if you're running 1,000 validators, it must mean you have a lot of pulse, which, hey, a little bit cheaper these days. Maybe it's more affordable for a lot of people now to run more validators with prices the way they are. So if you're running that much anyways, if I were running that many validators, I would have very beefy hardware. I would go out of my way to make sure it was, high specs, even above the recommended consensus, stuff like that. And then if you're going to have that, then yeah, why not upgrade to, at that point, if you're running 1,000 validators, it would not surprise me to see like gigabit. I'm not saying you need gigabit. Who knows? I've ran 1,000 validators, but maybe you get by with 100 megabit or something like that. But I think generally, if you're running that many, I would say 100 megabit. For most people, if you're running 1, 5, 10, 50, I would think 50 megabits should be able to handle it okay. You definitely want to make sure you have enough bandwidth, because you need to be communicating, need to be sending the data back and forth fast enough for the network to be like, all right, you're functioning correctly, right? So usually bandwidth's not a problem in the modern day. Now, if this was 5 or 10 years ago and you live somewhere that doesn't have, or otherwise, this may be more of an issue. But as long as you live somewhere that has some decent connection, like, I don't know if I would do like 10 megabit. I feel like if you're running a validator, can you do 10 megabit? I would like to hear someone, who has a success story from that. I would say at least 50 megabit, something like that from home. And again, if you're running in the cloud, what does it say? Like, I guess it's talking about how fast it's. I could assume it's at least 100 gig. I don't know. I guess you can, if you drill into the details of each instance, they probably do have different options for bandwidth. Yeah, I would at least assume it's 100 megabit or so, or if not gigabit in the cloud. So it's usually not a problem in the cloud. If at home, you're worried about your home connection. A lot of people, maybe they use 2 ISPs, they get 2 lines, they have a dedicated line for their validator to make sure even if they're uploading or watching Netflix or whatever, it's not going to affect anything. Having a separate router to provide, the isolation, for security purposes. I've talked about that before. There's documentation in the wiki. I've did videos and stuff on it too. But just making sure you have I don't know, if I were running it at home, I would probably want to have either a dedicated line or have a pretty fast internet connection, 50 to 100 megabit. I would feel comfortable with. But in the cloud, a lot of it's kind of taken care of for you, or not really need to pay attention to, because a lot of the speeds are pretty fast.